get very, very few negative reviews on the product. So that's number one. You have to have a crackerjack product. Otherwise, it's not going to give you the recommendations that you want. Second, there are a ton of forums out there, and I'm actively participating in these forums, and I help people for free. So, wherever you go and wherever you turn, my name pops up. And I also write a lot of articles about project management and the certification and that. And I publish them both on my website and on other websites. And I also use some article marketing where I just push them out to the various article directories that are out there. And to do that, it takes time, and you have to put effort into it. And this is not something that you can take lightly. Your reputation is, in this kind of a business, your reputation is the number one sales factor. If you have a bad reputation, people will not buy from you. If it sounds shady, it probably is shady. There was recently somebody out there who was trying to sell a similar product of mine, and it sounded really strange the way he announced it. And, if you want to buy it, send me an email and I'll tell you how. That just, it didn't ring with me. If I were a customer, I probably wouldn't go with that particular person, because it doesn't sound like he is building a real business, and it doesn't sit well with me.
Well, trust. When you talk about reputation, it's about personal brand. It's about the relationship with your market, the trust that they have in you. And you talked about how people got to know, like, and trust you through your podcast. And so, everything you're saying is absolutely right. And if you violate just those principles of building up trust and allowing people to get to know you and being authentic with yourself, then people see, it's going to create dissonance when people hear your message, and they're just going to go, that doesn't sit right with me. And then the relationship doesn't build up. And then, no value exchange ends up happening in the end. You don't make money. They don't get the valuable information, and things, it doesn't work, in the long run, at least. So, those important principles you're pointing out there.
Well, next, I wanted to kind of talk about how when a lot of people get started, and I know that we had this experience, and a lot of people express this to us, that they're a little bit scared of internet business, or they've got a lot of fears behind starting an internet business. So we wanted to know what fears you have faced along the way in starting your business, and how did you overcome them?
There were two that I had really at the time when I was starting out. The first one was, will I be able to make enough salary with this? Will I be able to keep afloat? And the second one was, what if my wife loses her job? Will we be able to have health insurance? And what I did in regards to the salary is I created a budget. I really went through the numbers, and I looked at, the growth that I've had in the past on this business. And at this time, I also managed to find somebody out of Florida who was looking for a part-time consultant in project management, and he also has a podcast, and that's how we got to know each other. And he pretty much offered me a job and said, look, I would be more than happy to bring you aboard. And we worked through this, and it looked like an incredibly good model, and I still believe in his product. In fact, I'm still working for him. However, because later on then the economy crashed, this side of the business really it just died. There were no sales coming from his end, and I'm really happy that I was able to build my business so strongly that I was able to get enough salary really to keep myself going and make the money that I needed every month to pay my mortgage. And in regards to the health insurance, I asked that question to you guys, in fact. That was during one of the Q&A sessions of the coaching class. I just sent in and said, hey, I'm afraid of this, and what can I do, and what is your suggestion? And I still think that what you said then holds true today, and not just for the health insurance question. This helps for every single fear. And the answer that you gave is, well, what do you have to do in order to make it happen? So if I'm afraid that I won't be able to get health insurance coverage, well, what is it that I'm going to have to do in order to make it happen anyway? So I thought this through, and I realized that, well, I live in California, if I have a problem with health insurance coverage, first of all, there is, I think it's called COBRA. After my wife gets laid off, we will be able to get health insurance through this COBRA coverage. It's going to cost us more. And this simply means that I'm going to have to find another market. I'm going to have to be able to sell more products to more people in order to do this. So that was step one. And step two was that I decided to incorporate, and I created my own company. And because I have my own company, I can now go ahead and provide health insurance coverage to myself and my wife through our company. The company's going to pay for all of it, and thereby I am covered. So those were my two fears that I had at the time, and how I got over them. And I think the one that really surprised me more is the one with the salary, because I had never thought that I could make more salary with my own side of the business than with the side of the business where I would be working as an independent consultant for Mark out of Florida.
Yeah, I mean, that second principle that both those are awesome stories, and that the whole idea of asking yourself, well, how can I do this? How can I make this happen? How can I afford this? How can I get creative? How can I... And whenever I've put myself in that position, I usually end up surprising myself at the solutions that I end up coming up with. And I guess I don't know why our default position sometimes is just immediately get uncomfortable or worried or afraid that we'll be able to come up with the solution. But I think too often we cut ourselves short in our ability to be able to just think, okay, well, if this is a worry, okay, what's the worst that can happen? How will I handle that? What can I do to prepare for that? Or what can I do right now? Or how can I afford it? And just kind of start getting creative. I mean, yes, it's non-traditional to think about some of those things that you mentioned, because we're just so used to being, well, I get my job and that's where I get my health insurance, and that's just kind of what we do. But, to have to force yourself outside that box a little bit and just think about it. But, when you learn to trust...
Yeah, you
learn to trust yourself in those cases, like that's one of the most powerful things that I've learned as an entrepreneur along the way, is just to learn to do exactly that process that you just talked about.
You also have to understand that this whole health insurance business, that's a question that you only ask yourself in the United States. Because here in the States, health insurance is provided through your company. In my home country, in Switzerland, it's your own problem. You provide your own health insurance. You get the coverage. Your company may provide you with a plan. You can choose from plan A or B, but they do not give you any type of benefits with it. They don't pay part of your health coverage. So coming from that point of view, and because my background is a bit different, it never really was a big worry for me, because I knew I had done this in the past and I can provide health insurance to myself if I have to.
Interesting. Very interesting. So how, obviously your things seem to be going quite well for you. Like you said, the sales keep growing and you've been able to meet those salary needs that you've wanted. How else has having an internet business impacted your life?